but under present circumstances that's incredibly unlikely. We then look to international courts. The International Criminal Court is only able to hear cases that took place after July 2002 unless there is a specific UN Security Council resolution granting jurisdiction. Alternatively, the Security Council could create ad hoc courts similar to those set up for the former Yugoslavia and for Rwanda. The other alternative is, of course, prosecution before domestic courts. The crimes that I've outlined that we conclude in the report are all crimes of universal jurisdiction, which means that individuals who travel to a foreign state may still be prosecuted within that court. The possibilities about doing that and how that might take place I'm going to leave to our fellow panel members. But in conclusion, I would just like to reiterate again my thanks to the Abdorrahman Boroumand Foundation for the work that they've done, my thanks to the victims for giving their testimony and for allowing this report to take place and for allowing us to document. When I told my friends and colleagues about this report and the stories that I'd heard, they said to me, "My goodness, how can you hear that? How can you hear that?" And I said, "How can we not hear it? For too long this has gone undocumented, and without the bravery and the courage of the victims, their survival at all and their ability to come forward, this would not be possible. And I hope for their sakes that we're able to, as the international community, and I hope other international groups other than the Boroumand Foundation will take up this case and pursue it through whatever means we can find." Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Our second speaker on this panel is Dr. Abdulkarim Laiji, again, someone I know is already very familiar to most of you. He's presently the Vice President of the International Federation of Human Rights, FIDH, but he's had a long and distinguished career in human rights. In 1982, in exile in France, he established the League for the Defense of Human Rights in Iran, whose work continues until the present day. In 1990, his work in human rights was recognised with a Human Rights Watch Outstanding Award for his contribution to the broader cause of human rights. And again, it's a real honour for us to have Dr. Laiji with us here today.
Thank you very much. آقایان، همکاران محترم، دوستان عزیز.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends.
نمیدونم شما این صحنه رو که در آفریقای جنوبی میگذشت از طریق تلویزیون دیدید یا نه. در یکی از این کمیسیون‌های حقیقتیابه که ریاست کمیسیون با دسموند توتوست و دو طرف، یعنی یه شکنجهگر و یک یا دو قربانی دارند از اون گذشته تیر و تارشون صحبت میکنند و یک وقت فغان دسموند توتو بلند میشه و شروع میکنه زار گریه کردن.
I don't know if any of you witnessed on television this scene in South Africa where it was the Truth Commission, and in this Truth Commission there was a judge and the torturers were facing the tortured, and they were listening to each other and putting their points of view across, when suddenly Desmond Tutu, who was chairing this Truth and Reconciliation Commission that was hearing the two sides, suddenly screamed and burst into tears.
امروز تو این جلسه قبل از تنفس من با اینکه بیشتر از 45 سال از عمرم رو با دادگاه و محاکمه گذروندم، وقتی لادن رویا که اونها رو از بچگی میشناسم، پدرشون همکار و دوست من بود، وقتی شورا که برای مادرش در پاریس مراسم یاد بود پدرش گذاشته بود و من اونجا رفتم. وقتی شهادت‌های مهدی و شهادت‌های آتی ایرج، دوست عزیز من منیره و اینها رو میشنیدم یا خواهم شنید، واقع قضیه اگر تنفس چند دقیقه‌ای نبود که اون هم قسمتش صرف مصاحبه با BBC شد، شاید قادر نبودم که یه چند کلمه‌ای براتون صحبت کنم. اون هم برای اینکه میدونید ما وکلا زبان ابزار کارمونه و من خجالت دارم از اینکه در کنار همکارایی هستم که نمیتونم با زبان اونها صحبت کنم و نیاز به مترجمم دارم، ولی کوشش میکنم که در چند دقیقه وقتی که نمیخوام از اون تجاوز بکنم یه عرایضی رو خدمتتون بکنم.
Before the break, I, who've spent 45 years of my life in courts and court cases as a lawyer, because that's been my practice, I managed to have a chat with Ladan and Roya Boroumand, whom I know from when they were children, and their father was a friend and colleague of mine. And I also listened to witness statements and from Mehdi, Iraj, Monira and Shura, who I met when she'd gone to the memorial service for her mother. And it was during this break that before that I perhaps wouldn't have been able to talk to you, and some of the break I spent, of course, giving a BBC interview. And as you know, for us lawyers, it's our tongue that is our tool, and without that we cannot function. And here I am, and I need an interpreter in order to speak with you, which is what I'm attempting to do right now.
برای ما حقوقدانها که نخستین گروهی بودیم که در ایران از آیت الله خمینی فحش و ناسزا شنیدیم، برای ما مدافعان حقوق بشر در ارتباط با جمهوری اسلامی دو گونه پروبلماتیک و دو گونه مشکل وجود داره و داشته از نخستین روزها. اول اینکه قوانین جمهوری اسلامی و در صدر اونها قانون اساسی جمهوری اسلامی در ذات مخالف مفاهیم حقوق بشره. دوم اینکه جمهوری اسلامی هرگز قوانین خودش رو هم اجرا نکرده. بنابراین صفتی که جمهوری اسلامی از نخستین روزهای تأسیسش تا امروز داشته و دارد اینی که جمهوری اسلامی یک رژیم آربیتره.
For us lawyers from the outset of the revolution, of course from us human rights defenders, all we heard from Khomeini was swear words against us. There have been two problems, and there continue to be two problems in the work we do, the obstacles on our path. The first one is the laws of the Islamic Republic, and on top of them the constitution of the Islamic Republic, which are totally contrary to the concepts of the human rights. Secondly, it's the Islamic Republic's own domestic laws, and they don't even abide by their own domestic laws. So the description one can only use to describe the Islamic Republic is that it's an arbitrary regime.
یکی از اصول حقوق جزا که در میثاق بین‌المللی حقوق مدنی و سیاسی هم به عنوان یکی از نتایج محاکمه عادلانه در ماده 14 و به ویژه در پاراگراف 7 ماده 14 قید شده، اصلی است که در حقوق از اون به عنوان اصل حاکمیت امر مختوم یاد میشه. یعنی چی؟ یعنی اینکه کسی که به موجب حکم دادگاه در یک امر جزایی محکومیت قطعی پیدا کرده، تحت هیچ شرایطی تحت هیچ شرایطی نمیتوان اون شخص رو 2 مرتبه به خاطر ارتکاب همون امر محاکمه کرد، حتی اگر یک کوالیفیکیشن جدید به عملش بدن، به خاطری که به خاطر اون مسئله محاکمه شده، مجازات شده و این مجازات به موجب حکم قطعی بوده. و این همونطور که خدمتتون عرض کردم در پاراگراف 7 ماده 14 میثاق بین‌المللی حقوق مدنی سیاسی اومده.
According to the Penal Code and the International Civil and Political Covenant, and the definition of a just trial, and that's according to paragraph 7, article 14 of that covenant, is the principle of, is it double indemnity or jeopardy? Double jeopardy. Yeah. And which means that somebody who has already been tried and whose sentence has, verdict has been issued and it's been finalized, cannot again be tried for that same crime. And that is what is called as double jeopardy.
یا به عنوان نمونه قانون مجازات اسلامی، قانونی که الان به عنوان پینال کود در ایران باید رعایت بشه. این قانون سخاوتمندترین قانونی است که در دنیا، اینو با اطلاع میگم، در ارتباط با حکم اعدام وجود داره. یعنی در این قانون 20 عمل، نمیگم 20 جرم، برای که بسیاری از این اعمال جرم نیست، گناهه، جرم نیست. شرابخوری گناهه، رابطه به اصطلاح آزاد بین یک زن و مرد اون هم بالغ گناه، جرم نیست. ولی 20 عمل در قانون مجازات اسلامی به عنوان اعمالی که مجازات اون میتونه مرگ باشه ذکر شده. ولی من الان میگم که نه فقط درباره اتهام‌های سیاسی، نه فقط درباره اتهام‌های عقیدتی، نه فقط درباره متهمان یا زندانیان مذهبی، عقیدتی و در صدر اونها بهائی‌ها، بلکه در تمام اتهام‌های جرائم عادی، هزاران هزار انسانی که طی 33 سال گذشته حتی به اعتبار و به اتهام ارتکاب جنایت در ایران محکوم به اعدام شدن و اعدام شدن، یک دونه از این اعدام‌های قانونی نبوده و تمام اونها مشمول اون عنوانی است که بهش میگن اعدام‌های غیر قضایی.
The Islamic Penal Code, for example, it is really the most generous law when it comes to executions. Within this law, there are 20 actions, and I'm using the word actions or deeds, not crime, because drinking wine or alcohol, consumption of alcohol, for example, is considered a sin or a crime, or a woman and a man having interaction that's supposed to be a sin. So I'm not even talking about sins here, I'm talking about 20 deeds. And not necessarily about political accusations or ideological ones, and not necessarily about religious defendants or defendants prisoners of conscience, or especially the Baha'i ones when I speak about the religious defendants, or even common crimes. Thousands of people in Iran who have been executed in the past 33 years, whatever the category, not even those who have actually committed crimes. I can say not one of those verdicts was actually legal, and that is what is referred to as non-judicial